Holly, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
All right, here's our joke. So I have a bird feeder in the garden.
Uh-huh.
But it also doubles as a cat feeder as well.
Oh, okay.
I told you it wasn't good.
A little more morbid there.
Yeah. All right. Well, our joke of the week is brought to you by Rescue. Rescue is American-made products. Keep your family, home, and yard protected from pests like insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jacket, flies, ants, and more. Find out more at rescue.com. That's rescue.com.
Gardening in your own body, gardening whatever, regardless of your size, is the first conversation of
It could
today.
be your size or your ability, whatever it may be.
Or lack of ability.
Yeah. So just a disclaimer. You might think, well, this doesn't apply to me. I'm healthy and I, blah, blah, blah. And I work out 10 times a week and da-da-da-da. But you never know. Your situation could change.
Or somebody.
Life is like that. So I just wanted to talk about this because I feel like it's a good segment to talk about and to consider. Maybe, you're struggling with it, or you get some ideas for the rest of the season or next year, whatever. So I think one of the biggest ones is people don't realize that you can bring the garden to you. So many people, when they think about a garden, they think about this backyard, in the ground garden. And they're like, I can't do that. Traditional. But there's a lot of options. You can do container gardening. You can put container gardening on stools or tables or pots or stack pots over. You can bring their height up. You can do elevated raised beds. That might be a little bit more of an investment, but it is a thing.
Well, here, you can grow pretty much, pick a number, 85% of things in a container that you could grow in the ground. There's certain things that it's a little more challenging to grow in a container than in the ground. But for the most part, large enough container on an elevated platform, you can go for it.
Right. So you can do a lot of stuff. Straw bales, you can grow in a straw bale, or you could stack straw bales. Mm-hmm. So there's an option there. Again, containers, pots, whatever you want to call them. Definitely you have options to make the garden more accessible, where you can reach it, you can get to it, whatever. You're like, my backyard, there's one part that's a patio and the good growing spot is way in the back. So you have options. You can, again, just consider where you want to put your garden. Other thing is you can sit on things, or you can use stools. There's like little garden carts that have seats on them. I've seen this like kneeling bench thing where it can be a bench and then it flips over to like a kneeler with a foam pad on it. If you have some mobility issues walking on uneven ground, get a cane or a hiking pole for that use to get out to the garden. There's a lot of
accessories,
assistant tools that you can utilize. You can get creative. Maybe you spend a lot of time in the park with your family or whoever. You can look for a nice stick, and that can be your walking stick. So you don't even have to spend money. Buckets are nice. I like to sit on buckets, but for some people that might be uncomfortable. That's maybe not an option. But again, there's things. And also, maybe you're like, okay, this year, it's a wash, but in the holiday time or your birthday, things you can ask for, especially if you are a parent of adult children. I promise you, your adult children will be happy to purchase something that you tell them to purchase for you, because we're running out of ideas.
End of the season. I mean, we're in the middle of the season in most portions of the country. 3/4 of the way in, a lot of these, and even some of these smaller garden centers are trying to liquidate and get rid of their your stuff, so they don't have to store it or whatever they need. That's where you start.
Yeah, you can start there. There's a lot of options.
You can buy it online on the big A website, but if you can just drive down the street and go to your local independent garden center, that probably is a better option.
Yeah. So then you also want to allow yourself to take breaks. I know a lot of us get in this mentality that once you start something, you have to go all the way through and you can't take any breaks and blah, blah, blah. Just say, I'm allowed to rest. I'm allowed to take breaks. I'm allowed to seek shade if I need to drink water. Maybe do this early in the morning or in the evening.
Do a little, but do it often.
Yeah. If you are, if you have friends, family, invite them over and say, hey, let's have a social hour while in the evening.
You get ice cream after you pull weeds.
Yeah, you could do a social hour, or they can just keep you company while you're out there, because sometimes you're like out there and like, this sucks. And somebody just talking to you and chit-chatting can be fun too. So yeah, if you do need help, obviously I don't think there's any shame in asking for help. I know that sometimes older generations have a hard time doing that, and that makes sense, but there's no shame in it. So I think that I'm encouraging you, giving you some words of encouragement to ask for help when needed, take breaks when needed, drink your water, seek your shade. Yeah. And then maybe you're like a lot of us have a lot of stuff on our minds. Make a list. Maybe you want to lay out a plan. Right now you're like, I did this year. I want to do something different next year.
Yeah, what is not working?
Yeah, what's not working? What is working? What might you change? And I think another thing is, like, don't compare yourself to others. This happens a lot. You see stuff on social media. You see your neighbors, maybe people that like you work with or go to church
My garden
with.
will never be as nice as blah, blah, blah YouTube channels.
Right. And people say this to me. They'll be like, oh, I killed plants. I bet you never kill plants. And I'm like, I kill plants like it's my job sometimes. So it's a learning experience. Everybody kills plants. There's no shame in that. So just keep in mind, like, be realistic with yourself, be kind to yourself.
Pick a size that you can manage.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, what do you want me to talk about? I just said it.
What are you saying?
Yeah. If you know that you can manage 800 square feet of raised bed or traditional ground, go for it. If you are only feeling that you can do 2 or 3 4x4 raised beds, that's what you do. You only can do 7 or 10 or 15 grow bags on the patio, porch, or deck, or in the backyard. That's fine. Do that. But do it to the best that you can in order to get the best return on the time in which you've invested and money into it. And there are certain things in which, things aren't going well this year. It's too hot or it's too wet. There's certain variables that you have to remove from the equation because it's beyond your control.
Right. That's definitely for sure. And again, ask for help. If you have heavy bags of soil or need something moved, you can often find somebody to help you. Toss them a couple bucks, whatever it may be, that might make your life easier as well. And
if you don't have somebody who be creative, empty bags out in little buckets until you get to the size in which you can move it.
Make it more manageable for yourself. And then another thing is that if something doesn't work for you that you're growing, like for example, Joy and I talk about this all the time, how we can't grow broccoli. It's okay. You can get it from the farmer's market, whatever. Or maybe you have a neighbor that gardens and they can grow broccoli and they can't grow XYZ. You can do like a little trade, what have you. I think that a lot of people are lacking a sense of community, and we need to get back to that. And it can start with, hey, I see that you have beautiful XYZ and you don't have this. Do you not like this? No, I can't grow this. Oh, I can grow this. Let's trade. And
there are certain people that don't like people, but there's a difference between not liking people and having minimal conversation in order to accomplish a certain goal.
Right. Are you referring to me?
No, I'm just saying people think that if you're going to communicate, you have to have this big drawn out hour conversation on the front yard. 10 minutes most.
Yeah. You can
go in, go out, because 90% of the time that person which you're talking to, they don't want you to hang around any longer than you want to hang around.
Right.
Get the information out, boom, 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 done.
And they might have other things they need to attend to.
They have other things.
They do have other things. Yeah. So I think that the biggest takeaways here would be to make it manageable for yourself. Don't be afraid to use what you have access to or can get access to. Use those tools, accessibility options, etc. And take breaks. Give yourself the kindness and grace to do what you need to do.
If you're going to work outside tomorrow, whatever, the next day, 2 or 3, properly hydrate. Don't wait until that morning and go, okay, I guess I got to start drinking water because I'm going to go out and start working in an hour. Start hydrating several days before, because you're not aware of how long it takes for your body to get properly hydrated. This is an extreme example, but in racing, in NASCAR, if they're planning, like it's going to be 100 degrees outside and 140 in the car, they will start hydrating with electrolytes on Tuesday for the race on Sunday, because they've got these athletic people that know all about this the science, and they have a proper regimen of how much liquid they have to drink so frequently, so they're fully hydrated by Sunday, because they're going to lose 5 to 7 pounds in the car by sweating.
Yeah, and it works. It works. Yeah, so just keep in mind.
What also works is Walton's Incorporated.
Yeah, so Walton's, we know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat your way to your high standards. You want to make snack sticks that people will actually like, or you'll actually like? You can go to meatgistics.com. It's an informational site to help you make the best finished product. They even have a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, and more to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's, everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, GROW50 to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more. That's waltonsinc.com.